The moment everything collapsed felt quiet, almost polite, the way heartbreak sometimes arrives without warning. 1 second I was standing in the open daylight believing I had finally reached the end of something meaningful, and the next I was staring at a smile that did not match goodbye. It was the kind of smile that lingers in your chest long after the sun has shifted in the sky, the kind that makes you question whether endings are ever truly endings. I thought it was over, completely finished and neatly wrapped by the afternoon heat, but that single look planted a seed that refused to die, even as the day stretched on and shadows lengthened across the street. If you believe that kindness deserves second chances and that small moments can change entire lives, take a second right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Touch. Your support keeps stories like this alive and reminds the world that hope still matters. My name is Arman Halim, and most of my life had been spent moving forward without looking back. I worked days at a modest architectural drafting firm where sunlight poured through wide windows and settled on unfinished designs like a promise waiting to be fulfilled. I was good at my job, reliable, invisible in the way dependable people often are. The days blended together under the same blue sky, lunch breaks timed by the position of the sun, evenings marked by tired satisfaction and the quiet ache of loneliness I had learned to ignore. I told myself I was content, that purpose could replace connection, that routine could fill the empty spaces where something warmer once lived. Then came the project that forced me outdoors, into the open brightness of a public park redevelopment. The city wanted benches, pathways, trees placed just right, and I spent weeks walking the grounds under clear skies, clipboard in hand, measuring distances and imagining futures I did not believe I would ever share. That was where I first noticed Samira Qureshi, not because she was loud or dramatic, but because she seemed deeply present. She volunteered with a community group, planting flowers and cleaning old corners of the park, always during the day when the sun was strongest. She moved with quiet confidence, her sleeves rolled up, her focus unbroken. There was kindness in the way she worked, the kind that asked for nothing back. Over days that turned into weeks, our paths crossed in small, ordinary ways. A nod of acknowledgement while passing, a shared moment of shade under a tree, the brief exchange of smiles that felt heavier than they should have. I never planned to let it become more than that. My past had taught me caution, had carved lessons into me with sharp edges. I had loved once and lost not through drama, but through slow neglect, through choosing safety over vulnerability until the connection simply faded away. Since then, I believed endings were inevitable, and beginnings were just disguised goodbyes. The day I thought it was over arrived without ceremony. The park buzzed with daytime life, children running, birds cutting through the bright air, the smell of fresh soil and cut grass rising under the sun. My work there was finished, designs approved, measurements complete. I knew I would not have another reason to return. Samira was there that day too, standing near a row of newly planted flowers, her hands dirt-stained, her face warm with effort. We exchanged one last look, and I felt that familiar tightening in my chest, the instinct to retreat before hope could get too comfortable. I told myself to walk away. I told myself this was the natural end of a small, pleasant chapter. But she smiled then, not the polite smile of strangers, but something softer, something that felt like an invitation rather than a farewell. There were no dramatic words spoken aloud, no grand gestures under the sun, yet the meaning landed with clarity. The day was not finished, and neither was whatever had quietly begun between us. I spent the rest of the afternoon distracted, sunlight glaring off screens as I tried to focus. My mind replayed that moment over and over, questioning it, doubting it, analyzing every detail the way fearful people do. I reminded myself of the rules I had built to survive, the ones that said, do not chase what might leave, do not invest where certainty does not exist. Still, something inside me shifted. The day felt unfinished, like a sentence cut short. As the hours passed, memories surfaced of who I used to be before caution became my armor. I remembered believing in timing, in effort, in showing up even when the outcome was unclear. Somewhere along the way, I had mistaken self-protection for wisdom. Samira had not promised anything extraordinary. She had only offered possibility, and somehow that felt more terrifying than rejection ever could. The challenge was not finding her again, because the park remained open and alive throughout the day. The challenge was finding myself, the version of me willing to risk discomfort for connection. I returned the next afternoon, sun high and unforgiving, the same benches, the same paths, the same open sky. She was there again, laughing with volunteers, sunlight catching in her hair as she knelt beside a flower bed. This time, I did not pretend indifference. I stayed nearby, helping where I could, letting the hours pass naturally. Over the following days, a rhythm formed. We worked side by side under daylight, conversations flowing without urgency, learning each other through small details rather than dramatic confessions. She spoke about growing up believing that communities mattered more than achievements, that showing up consistently was a form of love. I shared my quiet fear of starting things I might not know how to finish. There was no pressure, no demand, just understanding unfolding slowly under the open sky. What surprised me most was how healing that felt. The park became more than a project site or volunteer space. It became a place where patience lived, where growth happened visibly in leaves and soil and people. I realized that endings only feel final when we refuse to let them transform us. The day I thought it was over had not been an ending at all, but a turning point disguised as goodbye. Still, doubt lingered. Old habits do not disappear easily. There were moments I pulled back, moments I almost convinced myself to disappear again. Samira never chased, never questioned, never tried to control the pace. She simply remained consistent, kind, present in daylight, letting trust build without force. That, more than anything, broke through my defenses. The real change came not through a dramatic declaration, but through a quiet realization one afternoon as the sun dipped slightly and shadows grew longer. I felt lighter than I had in years. I was no longer bracing for loss, no longer rehearsing endings. I was simply there, engaged, open, alive in the moment. The fear that once ruled me had loosened its grip. Life did not suddenly become perfect. We both carried histories, responsibilities, uncertainties, but we learned that healing does not require perfection, only honesty and effort. Under the steady rhythm of daytime work and shared purpose, something solid formed. Not a fantasy, not a fleeting spark, but a connection grounded in kindness and choice. As the park officially reopened with new pathways and benches, I stood back and watched people enjoy a space shaped by many hands, including mine and hers. It felt symbolic, a reminder that building something meaningful takes time, patience, and willingness to return, even when doubt whispers otherwise. I thought again of that first smile, the one that refused to let the story end too soon. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that second chances often arrive quietly and that kindness can rewrite endings, please take a moment now to like, share, and engage with this video. Your interaction helps. These stories reach others who might need them today. And before this story closes, I have one special request for you. Please comment below and share what this story made you feel, or a moment in your life when you almost walked away but chose to stay instead. I once believed that endings were safer than beginnings, that walking away protected the heart. But sometimes, all it takes is a smile in the daylight to remind us that life is not asking us to hide, only to show up. What I thought was over became the start of something steady, human, and real. And under the open sky, I learned that courage is not loud or dramatic. It is simply the decision to return again and again until hope finally feels like home.